Apart from the rather bad day when we went island hopping, the weather had been fairly kind, and had mostly managed to rain heavily either after we got home from whatever activities we'd been doing that day, or during the early hours of the morning. With time now starting to run short, we wanted to explore to the north of KK, into the government complex, where there are some very interesting buildings. Further north again, you'll find the Sabah University. This is the first sort of sunny day we've had since we've been here. Almost blue sky, and it's correspondingly quite a bit warmer today, so we'll be on with the hats while we're wandering around. When we first got up, we were thinking about heading off to Kinabalu Park, but it seemed to be raining quite a lot when we got up, but now it's cleared completely. When we'd finished looking around the government complex, we continued north, but found that the suburban landscape was starting to become a lot more rural. We stopped at a small supermarket and picked up some supplies, and then decided to stay for lunch at a restaurant that was next door. Sadly, that turned out to be the worst meal of the trip, and it's really saying something when I think my own cooking would have been better than that lunch. The day had started off nice and sunny, but by the time we were eating lunch, the rain arrived. We wanted to have a look around one of the bigger shopping centres outside the main city area, so we looked for something on the way back to the apartment, and found a very local shopping centre with some specialty stores and a giant supermarket. Now, giant, in this instance, is the name of the chain, and doesn't necessarily refer to the size, although it was pretty big. When we'd finished doing a bit of shopping, the day was looking increasingly dull and grey, so by mid-afternoon we'd retreated to our accommodation. There was a smaller shop just across the road from Peak Soho called City Gourmet. We hadn't gone in before to have a look around, mostly because of the gourmet part of the name. In Australia, the word gourmet is generally code for ridiculously expensive, but we found the same rule doesn't apply here in KK. The range of food available was quite impressive, and prices weren't anywhere near as bad as we expected, although I don't see it as a place where locals from KK will be doing their weekly grocery shopping. Many of the goods reflect the type of tourists they expect to see in this area, and this turned out to be mostly Korean. We ended up picking up some food and drink, and to be honest, spent quite a bit more than we'd originally intended. With just a few days to go in KK, we decided to hit a few spots around town. The first was to have breakfast of delicious dim sum at Foo Phing's. This was only about 6 kilometres from where we were staying, but unfortunately Google navigation software on the phone really got directions wrong. I gave up on it in the end and just did the navigating myself. We had 12 different types of dim sum at the princely sum of about $24 Australian. In Australia, the equivalent meal would have been well over $70. We dropped in to have a look at the Pacific and the Magellan Sutera. The Magellan was the resort I had been lucky enough to stay at the first time I visited KK. If you want to have a more detailed look at it, you can check out our first series. It's episode number 2, I think. We bought some drinks and relaxed for a while, just enjoying the beautiful scenery. Well, we've had our breakfast at Foo Phing dim sum. Enjoyable. We're a bit stuffed with food at the moment. $25 Australian, and really couldn't have fitted any more in if we'd tried. We've now come down to Tanjung Aru Beach. This is probably one of the most iconic beaches here. I have my doubts that it's going to be much chop compared to some of the Australian beaches we've been to, but worthwhile coming to have a look, see what it's like anyway. And this is the much talked about Tanjung Aru Beach. I guess the reason it's popular is because it faces west, so you'll get sunsets here if you want to take pictures, as if a cloud doesn't block the sun out, and the fact that there's really not that many beaches around KK. Perhaps it's the time of year, but the water here doesn't look terribly attractive. Very stirred up and muddy looking. Even out on the islands it was quite murky and not worth going skin diving or scuba diving, or not worth going snorkeling. Not the sort of water that is designed to encourage people to take a swim in, I think.